Hello and welcome to episode 29 of the Churner's Digest. My name is Alex, otherwise known as Fear the Z, and we'll start off with our disclaimer. I'm not a financial or tax advisor. This is not financial or tax advice. This is for entertainment purposes only, but please enjoy. Sorry about this episode being a little late. I've been kind of doing Sunday episodes, but today's a Tuesday. I was busy on Sunday. We'll actually talk about why coming up here, but if you were expecting this on Sunday for your Monday driving to work, sorry, you'll have to enjoy it on a Wednesday driving to work. I did just get back from my trip to the DC metro area, which was nice. I'll talk about some of my lounge experience in a bit. As always, the show notes will have a link to our companion site. The companion site will have things such as a link to our Patreon if you want to support me, patreon.com/Turner's Digest. There'll be a referral page if you are interested. There's some stuff in there. My my upgrade checking account bonus is actually showing $200 now if you're interested in that. I have that on the site as well as on the invite link. And as always, if you enjoyed our intro music, that's by my brother's band called Sweaty Lemon. If you're interested in them, there's a link to them in the show notes. We'll start off with our thank yous. So shout out to Kung Fuer as well as Cleed for the Cleed tier on Patreon, as well as 3 new members, Jen, 2 Bunch Heavy, and Brendan. Shout out to the 3 of you. Not sure what 2 Bunch Heavy really means. Now that I think about it, I probably do. We'll move on. So as I mentioned, I recently opened up a Redstone Federal Credit Union Visa Signature card, and I shared some links to some people doing write-ups about Redstone Credit Union in the past, and people didn't seem to like them that much. It seems like the census was that the rewards are great, but their IT's not amazing. It's just older, and I've been using it for about maybe like a month now. I used it pretty heavily as my main card just to reach their minimum spend requirement. But now that I've met it, I kind of just use it for their top cash back categories, which for me is just really the restaurant category and maybe discount stores. But using their site, I've gotten familiar with it, and I don't think it's that egregious. I mean, yeah, if you're familiar with any credit union, their main site is just like any other credit union. I'm not sure who makes these sites, but it's always the same look. It has, like, basically you go to the main page, there's a bunch of ads, essentially, where it has, like, ads about different products they have, asking you to set up money management, some stuff about tax filing. But where things change is when you actually click on either the credit card account that you have on your login, or you go under rewards and you go to My Choice Rewards. And the screenshot there's a screenshot in the show notes, and that's of the rewards section where you can view all the rewards for your credit card. And the transaction page for the credit card is also pretty basic. I mean, it looks like it was written like in maybe like 2010, 2012. I think I was looking through the page source, and I think they were using like JFlac. I forget what it's called, but like an older web design style. And I mean, it works fine. I don't really have any gripes with it. Their transaction page, where it shows you each transaction, it tells you the merchant type, which is the merchant category. It's not the merchant category code, but it tells you the type, which is like a verbal version of the merchant category code. So I like that a lot. And then when you look at the rewards, this page is definitely their most outdated, but I mean, it works fine. It shows you line items of each transaction that you made. It tells you for each line item has its initial credit for the purchase, which is their base 3x points. And again, points are worth half a cent per point, so that's 1.5x. And then you have an additional line item if that purchase got enhanced rewards. So for example, if I have a purchase at a restaurant, I see a credit card purchase from, and then it says the merchant name, and then it says dining bonus rewards from merchant name. So it's a bit annoying that it's on 2 different lines, but I mean, they're all here. I can change the table to display all 100 results at a time if I want. It works fine. It's very basic. My end of year spend, now that I'm using this card, is probably going to be a pain. I don't see a way to export this. I mean, I haven't really looked into it, but it's possible that there's one here, but I'm doubtful. And speaking of my end of year spend, my 2023 end of year spend blog post is up. At the end of this podcast, I'll talk about it a bit. I mean, I go into in-depth over there, and feel free to go read it. This isn't going to be just a verbal synopsis of it. I'm just going to kind of speak on it. But if you want to read up on it or just see the the first section is the post is kind of wordy. But if you're interested in just in general, maybe just look at the first section and you can click off. But that'll be the end of the show. If you're not interested, don't worry. It'll be shoved at the end. All right, that's it for Redstone. Next, I signed up for a couple different credit unions because there were some good sign-up bonuses that came and went, unfortunately. So there was an Elements financial credit union checking account bonus for $400. The requirements were a direct deposit $500 or more, at least twice within 60 days. So I went and opened up an account. I was approved fine. They did not have any credit card funding, and it didn't even fund the account. The account's just sitting there at a zero balance. And I have my paycheck coming in this week, so that'll be getting $500. In addition, I signed up for a university credit union account, which that one required an EDU email address, and I have an alumni account, so I tried to do it that way. But their requirements seem to be you have to be in a particular set of universities, and the school I went to was not included, but their requirements were $100 when you open the account, $100 when you do digital banking, and then $100 for 10 transactions with your debit card. I didn't get approved of this account. I actually didn't even hear anything back, but oh well, I'm not going to go chasing it, and it's expired anyway. Next, Dr. Credit shared that there was a American Express Delta refresh. So if you're interested in that, there was a Dr. Credit post. I actually originally saw it on Reddit first in our churning, and then it was shared over on, and then Dr. Credit made a post about it. But I'm not going to super go into it. I don't really delve into American Express cards too much, but the Delta Personal and Biz Gold changed. The Delta Personal Biz Platinum changed. The Delta Personal Biz Reserve changed. And there's some enhanced sign-up bonuses that are expiring on March 27th. So if you're interested, sign up for those. I think the fee went up for all of them, but maybe you enjoy the Delta ecosystem and want to go that route. Next, there was a link that I saw that's a catch-all for Chase product upgrades. So if you're targeted for I guess it's specifically for a bonus for product changing your cards. I wasn't targeted any, but you can go over here and see if there's anything available for you. I haven't seen really many data points of people that were targeted, but it's cool that this is an offer and you can go and check it out. Next was just a data point that I had from Fidelity. I recently used my Fidelity cash management account card at an ATM in the airport just because I was lazy and didn't want to go to a regular ATM. And let me take that back. I am now using my Fidelity cash management account as my main ATM card just because it doesn't charge ATM fees. And I went to the ATM in an airport and it said that it charged a $3 fee, and I'm waiting to see if that has been refunded. It hasn't been refunded just yet. I think I've also read some data points for that saying that it takes maybe the end of a billing cycle with your CMA account for that to post. I'm currently logging in now to see if things have changed since last I was in here. Activity, it did change. Cool. I got a $3 reimbursement. So the cash advanced ATM withdrawal happened on Saturday. So February 23rd. It's still showing as processing within my cash management account, but my ATM fee rebate of $3 is here, also showing as processing. The ATM withdrawal happened on the 3rd, as I said, but the date is showing today. So I'm guessing it's still processing and it just won't show until the date will just keep pending each day until it hits, which is odd. But it's cool to see that the ATM reimbursement already came in. I was curious to see how long that would take, and it was pretty quick. Also, speaking of Fidelity, if those of you are familiar, there is Fidelity Bloom, where every year you can deposit $300 into Fidelity Bloom Save, and you'll get a match of 10% up to $30 of that deposit. So I went in on the 1st, and actually I was on Discord, and I saw a member, Lazy Rhino, called out that they were credited 3 times for their bonus, and it was all pending. And I went in, and I also noticed that I was showing 3 times. Then I logged in the next day and noticed that they were all taken out. I had no match. And now looking, they're just showing the one $30 credit. So not sure what was going on with their internal processing, but it looks like it credited properly. Next, I received an email that Curve changed locations, which is, I mean, it's kind of a nothing burger, but Curve sent in a message to their customers saying, "Dear Fear the Z, this is to inform you that Curve US is moving to new location February 1st, 2024. We request that you direct all mail communication to the following forwarding address." And they gave the address. Should you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact us at our email. And that was dated January 30th. So they gave you 30 days, have September, April, June, and November. Gave you 1 day, 2 days to make this change. I mean, that's not a lot of time, but oh well. And speaking of Curve, I know I've talked about Curve possibly going under in the past, and there's an insider who has been sharing some information about Curve, and they shared some additional updates. Also, that's really interesting. The email that came out from Curve came on, oh man, I got rid of it. That came out on January 30th at 10:16 a.m. The message from the Curve insider was shared on 10:32 a.m. That's a surprisingly close time frame. What, 16 minutes from each other? That's eerily close. I think it might be, I know that someone sent a message. It was the first message in this thread or in this channel on Discord since the 18th, so maybe they just have notifications turned on for this channel, and they wrote this up after someone shared that they received an email that they moved. But they said that they originally were having some issues with Hatch Bank, who's the issuer, and they were considering dissolving a relationship. But it looks like they're changing that and trying to keep the relationship. Curve US has no plans to grow or bring people back. I guess that means employees, or restart crypto rewards, or turn on Visa pods. I'm not going to get into that, but they were trying to get Visa to work at one point, or add anything of value, really. The Hatch CEO is no longer working for the company, but the COO was running the company, and they changed locations because their old location was a WeWork location, so they switched and downsized, and there's no other major updates. Things are still running status quo, and they're trying to keep things afloat, but nothing looking great for this year. Again, that's a Curve insider that I've personally validated. They do have some connections into Curve, so I kind of take their word for it, but we'll see what comes of it. Next, I called out in, I think last episode 28, that I opened up a KeyPoint Federal Credit Union account and funded it with $2,500 worth of credit card fundings. And I hadn't seen my post yet after about a week. And I was looking on Discord in Kai's, the Daily Churns Discord, and a member whose name is Kim Jong-un, the Supreme Leader, shared that it takes about a week for your credit card funding to reflect on KeyPoint. And looking at mine, it took about a week, but I'm actually seeing something quite strange. I funded the account with $2,500, but I'm seeing 2 $2,500 deposits for a total of $5,000 put into my account. Now, I funded that with my Redstone Federal Credit Union card. When I originally funded it, the card transaction was declined, and a customer service rep messaged me through the secure message portal and said, "Hey, your card declined. Can you verify the CVV?" And I actually got a message from Redstone that the transaction was declined due to fraud prevention services, and I told them that it wasn't fraud, and I told them to rerun the card, and it ran fine. But I'm now seeing 2 transactions debiting $2,500 in Keypoint, but I'm only seeing 1 charge on my Redstone Federal Credit Union card for $2,500. So I don't believe in Monopoly, and the bank, it's never make an error in your favor. You don't get $200. I think this will eventually be taken from me. I'm open Keypoint because they have a sign-up bonus, and I'm not going to touch the extra $2,500. I'm actually not going to touch the $5,000 in total. I'm going to let them maybe figure it out. So I'll keep y'all posted as to what happened to that. There's no such thing as a free $2,500 money glitch, but maybe somehow I'm the one lucky guy and I get a free $2,500. But I'll definitely keep y'all posted. Next, I shared that I was going to give an update on my Albert Genius play. And Albert Genius, I've talked about this a bunch. I'm not going to explain it again. But I went ahead and withdrew all my funds from the account because they no longer let you cancel unless your account is at 0, because the whole entire app is now locked behind Genius. So I went in and I withdrew all the funds, and then in the app, that once you withdraw your funds, the app makes it look like you don't have Genius anymore. So I don't think you have Genius. I did message support and ask them. I think I did message support and ask them to cancel Genius for me anyway. If I didn't, then I just went in and signed up for the free trial, and it still works. So I opened up Genius with $0 in the account, 1 month free trial, funded the account again, and started using Boosts again. So this is still working for me. It is quite lucrative in my end of year spend summary. I think I made like $400 off of Albert for Boosts, and that's probably a net gain of like $400 or $300 depending on other cash back categories I could get on those transactions. So definitely worth it for me. It does cause some headache, but I don't like the idea of possibly leaving money on the table, so I'll just keep doing this. I'm definitely not heeding Kai's warning of the optimizer's curse, but it doesn't hurt me yet. We'll see what happens. Next, I signed up for Blue Peak a while ago with a referral code, and I met all the requirements, and I was wondering why I hadn't received the referral yet. I actually used Cleed's referral, shout out Cleed, and I was chatting with him and then chatting with support, and you have to wait 90 days from opening the account for that referral bonus to credit. Even though Cleed has received the referral bonus on his end, I have not received it because I have not had my account open for 90 days. Just thought I'd call that out if some of you did go for this. That's something that could be holding it back if you haven't received your bonus yet. Next, Wells Fargo shared that, or Dr. Credit shared that Wells Fargo is announcing a new Wells Fargo Autograph Journey card, which comes with a 60,000 point bonus. The card will launch in March with 2 different sign-up bonuses: 60,000 points when you spend 4,000 in 3 months, and 70,000 points when you spend 4,000 in 3 months for Wells Fargo Premier clients. It comes with a $95 annual fee, earns 3x points, entertainment, food, drinks, and food and drink establishments, fuel and charging stations, telecommunication services, transport, and travel. This just seems like a rebrand of the autograph card, so it's not really a new card, but if there's transfer partners, this could be lucrative. I figured I'd just call it out just because it's news in the industry, but it doesn't really seem like that interesting to me. Next, I received an email from Citizens telling me that we have identified that your Citizens online bank and mobile application user ID and password may have been compromised. We do not have any indication that your information has been misused. While we do not have any indication that your information has been misused, we recommend you visit our site to reset your credentials at your earliest convenience. I received this email twice because I've had 2 Citizens accounts in the past. I think I've closed both of them at this point. So this doesn't really seem to impact me. And I also use unique passwords for all of my accounts, so even if they got this account, there's nothing in it, and the password's unique, so they wouldn't have access to anything else. But I figured if y'all have a Citizens account and either didn't receive this or maybe missed the email, it's probably a good idea to go change your password. Next, on episode 28 it's episode 28. I shared on Patreon and in that episode that there was a Dell dock for USB-C that was a great deal. It was $20 instead of like, it says retail $200. It's not a $200 dock. It's more like a $50 dock. But I received an email from Walmart that the order would be canceled. But I also received an email from Dell saying, was it Dell or was it HP? It might have been HP. It was HP, not Dell. I also received an email from HP saying that the product was delayed. So I then received the dock in the mail, which was interesting. I believe I was still charged the $20. And actually looking at this dock, I don't really, unfortunately, have much of a use for it. This goes into maybe a bad spending habit I have. But it only takes 2 inputs, and they have to be HDMI. My monitors that I have 3 of them. All of them either have their HDMI ports full or have majority DisplayPort or DisplayPort only. So I can get a conversion for the cable to convert it, but I already have DisplayPort to USB-C cables, and my work computer has 4 USB-Cs, and I fill up all of its holes to connect my 3 monitors and my YubiKey for single sign-on. So I don't really have a use for this, but it looks pretty in the desk. I mean, it is quite nice. It also comes with like 4 wall plugs, like UK, EU, and I think another region, and also a US one. But it's a nice dock. It also comes with I think a Thunderbolt cable or a USB Gen 2, USB Gen 3, USB-C Gen 3 cable, whatever it is. It was nice. And now it's sitting on my desk collecting dust. There's no FDIC update yet. I've been checking the portal. I forgot the portal exists, but I have it, and there's nothing there for my Nest complaint. As I said earlier, my upgrade referral is showing $200 if y'all are interested. I think you have to direct deposit $1,000, and I think Fidelity works, but definitely check Dr. Credit on that one. In this whole Keypoint thing, while I was traveling, I was doing my first of the month update all my trackers to keep track of like my net worth and my credit card balances and my bank account balances, etc. And whenever I do that, I was at a Capital One Cafe actually, and I was on a VPN just to make sure my traffic was encrypted. And both my Keypoint and my Visions account got locked. Keypoint opened up back in episode 26. Sorry, Keypoint I opened up back in episode 28, and Visions I opened in episode 26. Visions locked my account, and I actually received a call from them, and the representative was like, "Hi, we're calling about some weird transactions or some weird login activity," and I was like, "Okay," and they were like, "Did you log in recently?" And I was like, "Yes, I think I put in the wrong password," and she was like, "I'm seeing that you tried to log in here. Could you explain that?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm at a cafe and I used the wrong account." She's like, "You logged in from Massachusetts and DC?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm using a VPN and it must have like kicked off." And they sound very confused. And she was like, "Well, we can't verify your information, so please send us what did she want? I sent it. What did they want? It was kind of a weird request. I don't think it was scam. I don't think it was scam. They wanted me to send to fraud department at FDIC. Sorry, fraud department at Visions FCU. Oh, what was really happening was I was trying to withdraw funds from the account, and the account got locked, and I was just setting up a new external account, and that external account was an Ally Bank account, and she requested my logins. But she requested me to send in a copy of my external bank account statement, and I sent my Ally Bank account in. That's what happened. Haven't heard back about that yet. Keypoint, I called, and it was because I logged in with the wrong password. I think it was using like the sign up for the account password because my password saver saved that one as well. So I just went and they reset my password. I went and changed my password, and it works fine now. And that's when I saw I have $5,000 in there. Next, the reason why I didn't have a the reason why I did not have a episode come out on Sunday was because a reader named Don messaged me and said they were in the area and wanted to meet up. So we met up, got some drinks, and just chatted about the industry space. Don, if you're listening, it was great to meet you. We had a great conversation, and he brought up some topics, and some of them were relevant to some posts I've shared in the past. So one of them I'm linking to episode 7 of the podcast, where I discussed the Bank of America Preferred Rewards Elite Card. And in there, I break down how that card is worth $1,100 in the first year. That's including the fee of $550. And that card's a pretty great long-term card if you plan on being in the Bank of America ecosystem and like transferring your points, or I don't know if it's transferring your points or using the points on the portal for 20% boost. Either way, if you're interested in that, go take a read over there. We also discussed debit card interchange fees, and I brought up the point that at least for, I think it's Visa, that if you're a bank and you're issuing a debit card and you have below a certain number of assets, you're allowed to charge an elevated interchange rate compared to other debit cards, which I don't think many people know about, but I thought I'd reference that. I'll also give a link to Visa's PDF that explains this in the show notes. For reference, in that PDF, I believe they call it non-qualified. So non-qualified debit cards and consumer credit can charge 3.15% and 10 cents per transaction, which is the highest of any interchange, which is crazy. Next, I've shared stuff about fuel rewards in the past, and I'll share it again. Fuel rewards on Valentine's Day is giving 14 cents off per gallon, I think up to like 20 gallons if you're interested. I mean, it's not like anything crazy, but I'll be using that, stacking with my Albert 10% back up to $5. Next, it was an interesting read on our churning in the daily discussion news and updates thread, because they've changed the name. This was from yesterday. Someone shared that they were seeing that on their U.S. Bank, I think it's Altitude Reserve card, that earns 4.5% back, 4.5x back effective on mobile wallet purchases, that they weren't seeing that. And they contacted support, and they were saying that there's like a widespread issue for mobile wallet transactions not recording properly, and they're working on a fix, giving no ETA. And the commenter said, seemed like a corporate answer with no ETA, and a user by the name of Spaithco replied to that specific verbiage and was kind of challenging them on it, and actually went into a pretty in-depth and accurate explanation of the problem that could arise for a company like US Bank. I personally work for a bank, and I, for a time, worked in their credit card transactions, specifically rewards transactions for all credit cards for this credit card issuer. And this is very accurate. Most of these are done in a batch process, so every day there would be a large file that comes from usually an external mainframe company that shares all the transactions that come through. We run a large batch process that goes through every single transaction, matches the merchant category code to particular rules for particular cards, and earns rewards based on that. If there's some kind of issue, that batch process is now backed up for every day that either it didn't run at all or did not work for particular merchants. So in order to fix it, all you have to do is just rerun the previous day's runs for the one that didn't work. Normally, it already accounts for incorrect or duplicate transactions. Ours does. So if we were to rerun the same day twice, it just would not write anything. You wouldn't get the same rewards twice. The system is intelligent enough to know to not reward it twice. But you could see that if you have to fix the root cause, because you can't go in and just cherry pick each one of these transactions. There could be millions of transactions that come in that are falling under this category that is an error. So you have to fix what's the root of the problem is, and then rerun of the transactions. Those runs probably take about a couple hours. So once they do fix it, it shouldn't be too difficult to catch up, but until it's fixed, it's a problem. And I just thought it was quite accurate and an interesting read that somebody decided to share, and I can personally validate that that's very accurate. Next, Dr. Credit just posted today that Chase's Southwest personal cards are doing a sign-up bonus where you get 30,000 points and Companion Pass through February 28th of next year. For those of you who are unaware, Companion Pass is extremely lucrative if you have a P2 or someone that you would fly with frequently and you would fly Southwest often. You fly with your additional companion for free. And just by meeting the spend requirement of these cards, you get Companion Pass. Normally when you get Companion Pass, it takes 125,000, 135,000 points to earn it, but you get it for until the end of the following year you got it. So if you got it February of 2022, you get it until the end of 2025. But this, you only get it for 1 year after February 28th, 2024. So until February 28th, 2025, from whenever you get the minimum spend requirement. Really great offer if you're interested in Companion Pass and have a difficult time reaching those points requirements. Just thought I'd call it out. Definitely keep in mind 524 rule and things to know about chase cards. Next, there was a email that sent out. I think it's targeted, and Dr. Credit also shared it for some Venmo offers. So they're offering $15 when you deposit $75 into FanDuel. I'm not personally doing it. I had a difficult time with the DraftKings one. I had to reach out to support. It was kind of just a headache. And the Venmo one is 25% off, 25% cash back, up to $25 in total earn. I think it doesn't specify if it's on one purchase or on all of your purchases until you've made $25 in total spend. But also things to note about these, that expires on February 29th for the cashback one. And sorry, a fly just landed on my screen. And now there's fly guts on my screen. All right, that's really gross. And the FanDuel one ends February 11th. But they say that the cashback one is maximum redemptions of 40,000, and the FanDuel one is maximum redemption of 30,000. There's no way to track those, so they could expire, and you could go and do it and it not work. I tried to use the Venmo one. I have my Venmo debit card added to my Curve account, but it always declines whenever I make charges through Curve on Venmo. And I don't carry my Venmo card on me. I don't feel like carrying it on me just once just to get this $25% off, up to $25. But hey, if you're interested, it's out there. All right, we can dive into the DC trip, and then we'll talk a bit about the end-of-year summary, and that'll be it for today. So flying into DC, I flew from Logan, and because I have my Bank of America Preferred Rewards Elite card, I visited Stephanie's. That card still has Priority Passes restaurant access. VentureX took it away. American Express took it away. The Bank of America Premium Rewards Elite card still has it, and I'm very grateful because I love going to Stephanie's and getting $28 off my meal. I can go there and get the hummus platter and the chicken sandwich, which is a lot of food, and I think I pay like $12 including tip. Normally, it's like, what is that? Like $40 total? I get great value at it. I enjoy going to the airport early, relaxing, sitting and doing some work, then going to Stephanie's. Normally, I'm very lucky, and my gates are normally directly in front of Stephanie's, so I don't have to travel far, and I like that a lot. Also, while I was in D.C., I went to a Capital One Cafe, as I mentioned. This was in downtown D.C., in Chinatown. Not a great area. There were some riffraff that were walking in and out, but they were very kind. I mean, there were some people who were clearly like either recovering drug addicts or something, but I felt very safe. They didn't come in. They weren't belligerent. They came in and used the restroom, or they came in and got like a cookie or something. There were security guards there, and the staff was very nice. They came out around every 30 minutes, asked if you needed anything. It was a bit over the top, but they were very nice. I was just there for some free Wi-Fi and grab a cup of coffee and do my spend analysis for the month. But I spent some good time there. The Wi-Fi was fast. I enjoyed my stay. And then on my way out, I went to the Dulles Capital One Lounge at IAD. It's my second time going there. I think that the food was all the same. They haven't changed up the food. The options are the same. They're still fine. I mean, it's better than any Priority Pass lounge I've went to in terms of variety, atmosphere, spacing, and taste. But the food just was a little bland. I have been lucky to get there when it's breakfast and then it transitions to lunch. It does that around like 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. And the breakfast is kind of meh. There's like this chia seed yogurt cup thing. It's actually quite good if you don't mind the texture of chia seeds. It tastes great. But their food could definitely do a little bit better. The breakfast sandwich kind of sucks. The coffee isn't made fresh. It's made fresh, but it's made like out of a machine. It's not like an actual barista like putting grinds into a portafilter or making an espresso. It's just pushing a button and the machine does it. I mean, that's all complaining for free food. It was free food. I enjoyed my stay. It was comfortable. There you go. All right, that's it for this episode. I'm going to now go into my 2023 spend summary. If you're not interested, tune out now. If you are, here we go. Like I said, I'm not going to super dive into this. Please go ahead and read it if you'd like. I like to be very transparent about this. I've said this a couple times, but this isn't to like brag or anything. I'm not like, oh, look how much money I spend. Maybe I spend all of my money and this is how much I make in the year. I think it's interesting, or at least useful. I would find it useful if I was a reader to see how much someone else is making or spending in certain categories and seeing how it goes year to year. I just kind of like numbers, and maybe that's why I nerd out and do stuff like this. But I figured maybe other people will be interested in it. I'll share it as well. So since last year, I reference a lot of last year in this post, and I decided, and I'm happy I did, to compare last year's spend for both the total spend and each category spend and compare it to this year and see how it changed year over year. So in each section, you'll see a table that has a year, a spend at least either for that category or total spend, and the change in year over year. So looking from 2023, for 2023, my total credit card spend was just about $80,000. My total spend after all deductions and with rent included was almost $85,000. So definitely, you can tell just by how much I spend. My tax bracket is probably higher. Compared to last year, my year-over-year total credit card spend went up 0.5%, which really isn't that much, which was nice to see that I'm not spending more on my credit cards, even though I this year went on a trip to Europe. I mean, 2022, I went on a trip to like Milwaukee, but I went to Europe this year, which is definitely more of a expense. And then total after all deductions, this year I spent 84 or just about 85K, and then last year I spent just about 82K. So that was an increase of about 3.5%. Again, not bad. Looking at my increase in salary from last year to this year, it went up over 3.5%. So at least I'm not spending more than I am. Year to year, I'm not spending more than my salary is going up. So I should still be making a net on that salary increase. There are some asterisks and some carve-outs from these trackers that I wanted to call out pretty early off. Cashback is estimate. The way that I get all these numbers is from either an export into CSV of particular banks. Some of those include Citi and Chase offer great exports into CSV for all my transactions, but people like Bank of America don't do that. So what I do is I take their year-end statement, which almost all banks issue this. If you're interested, you could just look at the PDF statement for all of your bank accounts or all of your credit cards, and they do issue a year-end statement, and they'll tell you all the categories you spent in, your total spend, but they don't give that type of breakdown for cash back. So I kind of just estimate it based on what I think I would spend in that category. I did have lots of reimbursements. I have a line item called net Venmo transactions, so I'll often put my card down because people know I make the most cash back, and then I'll Venmo them back. Sometimes I give some of that cash back to the people I Venmo, so I'll say like the charge minus 3% or minus 5%, just to make them feel like they're getting a little bit. Sometimes I don't, if I'm lazy or I'm like, screw it. I put effort into putting my card down, paying the transaction, Venmoing everybody, getting all their accounts. I kind of can take it as like a finder's fee, if you will. And then final thing to note, merchant category code dependencies. All of these categories that I have are dependent on the merchant categorizing themselves properly, and there's a chance they didn't. I know for a fact I made more automotive purchases this year than is on the tracker, and I don't feel like going through every single one of this. Already takes a while to make. I don't feel like going through all of my transactions and carving out which ones should have been automotive and moving it where it should be. I just do what the spreadsheet says. For some categories I did, like Bank of America, the merchant category is very broad, and Bank of America has either started or just didn't do this in the past, but does carve out under merchants like Whole Food or wholesale and home improvement, and other ones also carve those out. So I tried to do better on it this year, but some things like that just fall through the cracks and I don't account for it. just some categories that I wanted to highlight. I definitely spent a lot more on dining out than I have in the past. I think I have also Venmo'd more for this. Like the Europe trip was 2 weeks straight of eating out. My friends don't really like to cook while they're abroad. I like to cook, but cooking for 3 people in a new environment is pretty stressful for me. I like to be in what I'm used to, so that would be kind of annoying for myself to have to go through. Let's see. Gas isn't very interesting. It went up a little bit compared to last year. Grocery, I'm shocked. It went up over 100%, so it more than doubled. I think it's because I did meal kits a lot heavier last year than this year, and I've also tried to switch to buying better produce, buying more organic items, buying better eggs, buying a lot of fruit. I eat a lot of fruit, and I mostly shop at Whole Foods, and I think that they're just a more pricey grocery store. And sometimes the stuff I buy there isn't even organic, to be honest with you. Like, it's just Driscoll's, but I buy it thinking it's better for me when it's really not. It's still just Driscoll's, not even organic. But they sell a Driscoll's Swedish batch. I think that's what it's called. If you see them in the store, they're very expensive, but just try them. They'll be the best berries you ever had. Health went up. That's not surprising because I went to the ER this year. Nothing bad happened. I just hit my head and got a concussion, and the urgent care was like, you have to go to the ER right now. I'm calling the cops. And I was like, oh, gee, okay, I'll go. Fine. Merchandise went down this year, which is very good to see, even though I'm now spending way too much on buying vinyl records just because I like them. Other went up, but that's really just because of bank account funding, or BAF, which is a line item I now have on the spreadsheet. Before, it was lumped into net Venmo transactions because I was lazy and didn't want to add another one. But this year I went and added its own little carve out. Utilities are about the same. I'm spending a little bit more. There was a couple months where my thermostat would just set itself to 70 degrees for no reason. I went through and cleared all the schedules. It was this old piece of junk, and I could not figure out why, so I asked my landlord to just replace them all, and he agreed to just put on Nest system in, which is much better now. But now, since the system's so nice to use, I find myself using it more often and thus paying for more heat, which is gas around here and pretty expensive. So we'll see if that winds up being an uptick. I should keep an eye on that. Automotive, as I said before, probably spent around $2,000, but it doesn't reflect it here because the merchant category code is not correct. Memberships are about the same. Untracked spend went down, which I'm very happy about because I don't like having that category. It was a big gripe of mine to not have like accuracy in my spend. If it's untracked, I don't really know where I spent it. So having that go down makes me much happier. And there are some intentionally, sorry if you heard my scroll wheel, I have to fix a syntax error on this blog post. Nice. I don't like having untracked spend, but there's some cards that afford themselves to just have untracked spend, like my Atlantic Federal Credit Union debit card. They have no way of me exporting. I think just like Redstone's not going to have any way for me to export. Same thing with Ness. Ness went other. I don't even have access to my transactions anymore. I don't really know how much I spent with them. So I can't really track some of that. Some takeaways. This is new from last year. My financial tracker that I have, that I don't share. I have a template that's on my blog. If you're interested, it's under my current bank accounts post. It's like a sanitized version. But on my personal one, I added some fun graphs to see my trajectory for certain things. And I added them here if you're interested in seeing them. Things like my net worth. I did not put my net worth because I don't feel like sharing that publicly, but I have a graph showing that it continually steadily increases with a lighter blue line in the background for the linear, I think it's called linear regression of the line. It's been a while since I've taken math classes like that. And then my net worth delta, which changes a lot pretty infrequently, but majority it's always above 0, which is nice. It normally doesn't go down. You can see the same thing from my net worth graph. My cash to net worth ratio used to be a lot higher cash, and now I'm trying to be less cash. I'm trying to hover around 20%. Just so I have some liquidity, and then my actual net cash, you can see is pretty much leveling out from the linear regression. And then final notes, if you're interested in my churning outcome for the total year I cropped it out. That's annoying. I'll have to change that. For 2023, I made around $4,000 in bank account bonuses, $2,500 in credit card bonuses, around $900 in bank account referrals, around $500 from credit card referrals, and then around $850 from debit card rewards. I've hinted at that in the past, not going into it, but did make some debit card rewards. As compared to last year, this year's total was around 9,000. Last year's total was about 10.2K. So a little bit less this year, but I'm still pretty happy with those numbers. I mean, looking at Kai's from the daily churn, his numbers are astronomical. So if you want to see some really crazy churning numbers, go over there. And then I also created a pretty stacked bar graph for my total revenue. So actually, I'm not going to read you the screenshot because you can tell from the one below if you match it up. The almost 9K is from 2023, and it's in order from newest to oldest, so people will figure it out. But if you're interested in graphs and stuff, there's some stuff on there if you want to read through. Then at the bottom of the blog post, I also share some in-depth details about the tracker if you want to see it. I don't have this tracker public. I might be interested in sharing it on Patreon. It does take a lot of effort for me to make this tracker, and then for me to go back and sanitize it and try and make it work for everybody. And I really don't want to give tech support. Like, if you message me and ask me like, oh, what is the best something, I'm probably not going to reply to you. And if I have a spreadsheet out there and something doesn't work for you and it doesn't work right off the shelf and you ask me for troubleshooting, that's not what I want to be doing. So I'm not going to reply. There's nothing against you. I'm sorry, but that's just not what I'm going to do. So that's my only reservation to releasing it. But maybe I'll create like a new tier on Patreon that'll give you access if you subscribe. It'll just be like a one-time fee, really, because you can just make a copy of the spreadsheet and then share it out, or make a copy and then stop paying for the subscription. But maybe I'll share it there. I'm not sure yet. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting. Thanks, as always, for listening. I have a ski trip this weekend, and then another ski trip the following weekend, and then another ski trip the following weekend. So I'll probably have a hiatus, quite honestly, until March. But hopefully the blog post is enough to hold you over. Hopefully this episode is enough to hold you over. Thank you very much for listening. Don, it was great meeting you, and thanks everyone for your support. Have a good one.